If the NCAA gives a fifth year of eligibility to everyone, yes, everyone, that could really benefit Syracuse football.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And folks, on today's mini podcast, actually, we had one just an hour ago. It was Poll Friday, but for a mini podcast, another one, I'm going to talk about NCAA eligibility because we got a report this morning from a very reputable source that the NCAA is considering giving everyone a fifth year of college eligibility. That's right. So we're going to talk about how it affects Syracuse, and we're also going to talk about the potential timing of it. And spoiler alert, either it has to happen pretty much now or it can never happen. Period. End of story. Okay. So let's get to the report. It happened this morning from CBS Sports' Jon Rothstein. Most people know Jon Rothstein as a college basketball expert, but he also does great work at CBS, and he's an insider. And he got a report. Quote, the NCAA is considering allowing 5 years of eligibility for players in all sports moving forward, per an NCAA official. And Rothstein also went on to say that it will be discussed in early 2025, which it's January 3rd when I'm recording this. So how about right now as early 2025? And plus, we're going to talk about the timing in the next segment, okay? But this is a real report that the NCAA is strongly considering giving a fifth year to everyone in college. So how does this affect Syracuse? We're mostly going to talk about football, okay? That's the hot topic right now in Syracuse because the football team, they just went 10-3, first year under Fran Brown. We know that Kyle McCord is appealing for a fifth year of eligibility. So let's talk football. Here are some of the key recruits from the 2021 recruiting cycle. Okay, this is back when these guys were in high school entering college. Kyle McCord, Jackson Meeks, and Alijah Clark. Those three players, all key players for Syracuse this past season, they all could, in theory, come back if this comes to fruition. Hopefully soon, okay? And for what it's worth, Kyle McCord, again, appealing to the NCAA for a fifth year. Well, if the NCAA decides to give everyone a fifth year, then Kyle McCord's appeal doesn't matter. He would be eligible to return because he was in the class of 2021. He's played 4 seasons in college. It would be all about using or whether or not he wants to use the fifth year or not. We can also talk about some of the 2020 recruits. I'm not sure if this rule will apply to the 2020 recruits. I don't think it will. It's possible, but I doubt it just because they already got a free year from COVID, okay? But some of those guys include, but are not limited to, Marlo Wax, Justin Barron, Savion Washington, Clarence Lewis, Fidel Diggs. Those guys got the free COVID year already. But let's just say it does come to fruition and they grant it to the class of 2020 as well, and they just give everyone an extra year, not just a fifth year, then those guys could return as well, although it's unlikely. I am also aware that some of them have already declared for the NFL draft. Jackson Meeks and Alijah Clark out of the 3 2021 recruits. Kyle McCord is still not declared for the NFL draft. Kind of interesting, right? But Alijah Clark and Jackson Meeks, just because they are in the NFL draft now doesn't mean they have to be in the NFL draft forever. The deadline to opt out is February 7th. Am I banking on them to opt out? Not really. But you never know. It's important to know that date just in case the NCAA decides to give everyone that fifth year. So once again, Jon Rothstein of CBS Sports, an insider, he heard from an NCAA official and he tweeted out this morning that the NCAA is considering giving everyone a 5th year across all sports in college. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, because I think it would be a great thing, particularly for Syracuse football. It would be outstanding if they can get a guy like McCord back without even having an appeal. It would be awesome. Okay. Now, coming up, I'm going to tell you guys why the NCAA needs to do it now or just not do it at all. Stick with me here. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players to score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. Not only can you bet on who will win the game, but FanDuel also has bets for which players are going to score a touchdown, how many points each team will score, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore, and I've already saved a ton. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. We know that the NCAA is considering giving everyone in college a 5th year of eligibility. It would encompass all sports, and we know this from CBS Sports' Jon Rothstein, and I will pin that tweet in the comments section below so you guys can check out that tweet as well as the article that followed from Jon Rothstein. I'm here to tell you right now, I understand that that in the report there was no real timetable, only that they were going to discuss it in early 2025, which is right around now. Actually, it's January 3rd, early 2025. But this rule either needs to come into effect now or never. It's now or never for the NCAA. The key date to keep in mind is February 7th. That is the deadline for players to opt out of the NFL draft. February 7th. It's a date that I threw out to you guys in the last segment, talking about Jackson Meeks and Alijah Clark, right? If they decide they no longer want to go to the NFL, they can opt out of the draft by February 7th, whether that's to come back to school for another year if they could, or if it's, well, they just don't want to play professionally. Not everyone wants to. I don't think that's going to happen. But you see my point. February 7th is the deadline to opt out of the NFL draft. If the NCAA decides to wait and then decides to give everyone a 5th year after February 7th, they are risking a massive lawsuit from the class of 2021. They are, because they would be screwing the class of a 5th year. What does that mean? They get screwed out of NIL money, which is the whole point of this. NIL, making money, right? You're screwing them. Think of it this way. The class of 2021, they did not get the free COVID year. They were the first class to not benefit from that COVID year in 2020. If you were a collegiate athlete and you played in 2020, you got a free year of college eligibility by the NCAA. It was a free year. It was a write-off. But class of 2021, well, they entered after COVID, so they didn't get it. And then if the NCAA decides to give everyone a 5th year after February 7th, well, then what? The class of 2022 gets a 5th year. The class of 2023 gets a 5th year. The class of 2024 gets a 5th year, and so on and so forth until eternity, or whenever the NCAA decides to change their rules again, which they always do. But that leaves that 1 year where a player couldn't get a 5th year if they decided to already enter the NFL before the rule came into effect. And that would be the class of 2021. To kind of put it into less confusing terms, because I know I threw a lot at you, okay? So just hear me out on this. Let's say Kyle McCord doesn't hear back from the NCAA, or he just flat out gets rejected by the NCAA. And so therefore, he enters the NFL draft, right? He enters the NFL draft. He's played 4 years of college. Let's say now in June, the NCAA says, you know what? We've been considering this for a while. We're going to give everyone a 5th year of eligibility. Congratulations. You just screwed Kyle McCord of potentially coming back. But it's not just Kyle McCord. It's anyone, really. That's why the NCAA needs to say, hey, either we're going to do this now and give everyone the 5th year, or just don't do it. Just don't give people the 5th year. That's it. That is the bottom line. It is right now or never for the NCAA, but it's the NCAA. They are not always the brightest when it comes to their decision making. So we'll see what happens. And of course, if there's an update, I will let you guys know here on Locked On Syracuse. And of course, how it affects our Syracuse Orange. As far as what is coming up on the podcast in the future, Syracuse basketball is playing tomorrow night at Florida State at 6 p.m. Eastern, and there will be a full post-game reaction podcast. And next week, there is plenty of content to go over, so make sure to stick around here on Locked On Syracuse. Thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen today. And for your second listen, you can check out the Locked On ACC podcast, Alex Donald and Kenton Gibbs. They keep it real and bring you the truth about where your favorite ACC team stands within the conference. Find Locked On ACC on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Folks, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this video, click that like button. If you really like it, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications so you know right away when I am dropping the next podcast. And everyone, take care.